these waters are pretty well infected with sharks. So one of them you saw tried to jump out of the boat, and I told him to get back in there real fast. So he did. Now we're approaching him again. So at this time, they kept telling us that there was another aviator out there that wasn't with the group, and we said we'd try to look for him as soon as we got the others picked up. But we were lucky. His life jacket was only half inflated, and he had to keep swimming a little bit to keep him afloat. He'd been in the water for about 4 hours, and he was just about ready to go under. He said he'd given up. If we hadn't picked him up another 15 or 20 minutes, he said he would have probably drowned. He was so weak, he couldn't move his arms or legs anymore. And there goes the plane home that took us to where they were. I couldn't wait for him to get on board. I was very nervous at the time because we were sitting in the water dead, and it was pretty risky to be sitting there. But that kind of a target for some other submarine to come up. I was listening with one ear, but I was looking hard around. Here we're approaching another submarine that transferred the aviators that we picked up. They were on their way home, and we had another couple of weeks on station, so we didn't have room for them, so we wanted to get them home as soon as we could. There's another submarine that rendezvoused with us, so they had aviators too. I think the sub that was going home took home 23 altogether. It was almost too rough to do it, but we had to do it. forgot what he was trying to protect. I think he had a camera in there that he was trying to keep dry. But I don't think it got home too dry after that trip. Here's where we pulled in the single van. This is on another rescue. We had to go in fairly close to the coast. And it was getting dark. He came on board like it was just a regular rescue, and I don't even think he said thanks. He no more than waved to me when he left.
Commander who rescued him at sea. Well, he found that Navy commander retired and living in North Georgia. Fox 5's Doug Richards takes a closer look now at who will reunite this weekend and why.
Bob Thomas is retired and enjoying it. He lives on Cape Cod. He and his wife Jean are active and healthy. But for most of his life, a mystery nagged at Bob Thomas. 52 years ago, when Thomas was a young Air Force sergeant in World War II, a Navy commander saved his life, and Thomas never knew who he was.
I always figured I owed him a heck of a debt. My family is eternally grateful that he showed up when he did.
In the summer of 1945, Bob Thomas was a gunner on a B-29 bomber assigned to raids on Japan. On June 26th, a Japanese fighter emerged from the clouds and sprayed Thomas's B-29 with anti-aircraft fire. The bomber was called the Dynamite. With 2 of its 4 engines on fire, the pilot turned the stricken plane toward the Pacific and ordered the crew to abandon ship. The B-29 ditched just 10 miles off the coast of Japan. 8 of the 12 crew members survived, and then spent 4 long hours adrift in the ocean, waiting for somebody other than the Japanese to find them. Fortunately, a U.S. Navy submarine called the Springer was patrolling nearby. With the war raging in the Pacific, it was all too routine for Navy vessels to be assigned to find aviators whose planes had gone down at sea. The commander of the Springer was a young Naval Academy graduate assigned to rescue the survivors of the downed bomber.
No, it was just another job to me. I enjoyed doing it and was proud to be able to do it, but it was just another job to me. And I knew the name of the submarine. I did not know his name.
Thomas contacted a local newspaper to help locate the submarine commander. His search turned up John Bauer, retired in Pickens County, Georgia. After a 22-year Navy career, he had all but forgotten that particular rescue.
I mean, it wasn't one of those things where I went around and patted myself on the back every day because I picked up an aviator. There's 7 of my crew members in portable dinghies.
When Thomas and Bauer finally made contact, the former submarine commander told Thomas that he just happened to have a color film of the actual rescue, shot from the bow of the submarine. 7 of the downed crewmen endured the 4 hours in the Pacific in rafts. But Bob Thomas wasn't with them. He was a mile away with no life raft and only a half-inflated life jacket.
Well, I had to swim a little bit for 4 hours. Or not swim, but, you know, tread water or whatever. In other words, it wasn't sufficient to hold me up.
The submarine was in dangerously shallow water, unable to dive, a fat target for another Japanese fighter.
There's John Bauer, a much younger man than currently.
Bauer, the submarine commander, knew there was another aviator in the sea.
So I decided to give it a shot. So we went in and we found him. But we saw him and we saw that he wasn't moving too much. And so I had my swimmer, my best swimmer on board. I realized we had to get to him in a hurry. That's me way out in the drink. And there goes the designated swimmer, Bill Cott. He's going to pull in a very thankful Bob Thomas. I was about ready to go under. I was tired. He'd been treading water for 4 hours. He was just about gone.
But the young airman recovered, and the Air Force sent Thomas to the U.S. just in time to celebrate the end of the war with Japan. He returned to civilian life and has lived long enough to enjoy retirement and to learn the story and find the man behind the rescue a half-century ago. In Cape Cod, Doug Richards, Fox 5 Eyewitness News.
Great story. Thomas and the remaining survivors of the gunned-down B-29 will meet former submarine commander John Bower this weekend at Dobbins. It will be their first meeting since the day of their rescue in June of 1945.
And the reflections take your breath away.
Here's the down crew that we found.
June 26, 1945. A B-29 bomber and his crew shot down in the Pacific on the coast of Japan, thought to be rescued by the men of the U.S. submarine Springer, commanded by this man, John Bower. 83-year-old John Bower and his wife, Peggy, have lived on this 4-acre tract of land near Jasper for almost 20 years. Didn't know until they got a call recently from a survivor the significance of this film they'd had in the closet for many years.
He called me, and he says, "Are you the John Bower that was the skipper of the Springer?"
They kept telling us that there was another aviator out there that wasn't with the group.
Call was from this airman in the water, calling Georgia from Cape Cod. Bob Thomas was a gunner on the B-29. Thomas had become separated from the rest of the crew, had been treading water for 4 hours.
Well, you look at him. He doesn't have any strength in his arms or in his legs anymore. He was just about ready to go.
After 52 years, Thomas's telephone call to his rescuer is leading to a reunion this weekend at the Naval Air Station in Marietta. Members of the submarine and B-29 crews are coming. The downed plane's pilot, Captain Bill Pitts, retired as a lieutenant general. Bower's wife reading a letter from Pitts.
I never have or never will see a sight so glorious as your